TMNT game, the 3D one. We all think about it. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's been a hot minute since we've had one, the last one being Mutants in Manhattan. We all just daydream or night dream, I guess, if you're dreaming while you're asleep. I love how I said that like that's an abnormal thing. But we've all been dreaming about it, and I'm sure that we each have a very specific way that we envision this to look. Like for me, I imagine those classic turtles just updated enough to fit the modern scenery of gaming, and boom, we're good. But let's think back to a time, the 2010s to be more specific, and see how they handled our turtles in a 3D gaming landscape. It should be fun, right? The nostrils, the muted colors, the bald manisms. Look, you find out your favorite franchise, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is getting a game, one that's a bit more based on realism. You wonder what they're going to look like, and when they encapsulate the 3D space, you get back an image that looks like this. Yeah, I don't know, this seemed to be like a common thing going on for the TMNT, more so in like the 2010s and such. And I'm talking across the board, video games and movies. Both the Michael Bay films and this game did a thing of trying to give the turtles nostrils, muting the colors a bit. You know, all these things because I guess in their minds that's what it would realistically look like if the Ninja Turtles hopped into our world. But again, we're talking about Ninja Turtles. It's already a pretty wacky and zany concept. I don't see why the designs can't match that energy, but whatever. Whatever. It seems like we're starting to learn these days though, and the reverse is starting to happen whenever we get a quote-unquote realistic take on these zany characters. I mean, look at Sonic going through the whole thing of, oh, you guys want Sonic in the real world, so who would want anything that's ripped from the video games and comic books when we can have something that looks like this be the face of our entire film, selling tickets to families, little kids. You know, this is gonna be our mascot. This is the guy that we want representing our brand and what he's gonna look like now that he's representing himself in a much more realistic setting. Don't you guys like this? Is it this what you want? Graphics. Impressive. At that time, when it came to TMNT, in every space, including video games, which is the main talking point here, whenever they tried to adapt them, it seemed almost impossible for them to retain that zany, cartoony nature despite the world being more realistic. I don't know, I guess creators thought it would clash too much, but me as a fan thought it would be a nice little contrast between the turtles looking cartoony and the world that they're in looking more realistic. I mean, we have actual proof of that today with the new Sonic designs, but I don't know, part of me hurts that we might never see that for the turtles. If only there were some game developers out there that would try to translate their animated series look in their games. That'd be nice. Maybe it's just a dream at this point.
Smite! Smite, that's all I have to say is smite.
Do you understand how many times I have been trying to tell people about the designs for the Ninja Turtles when they had their crossover in Smite? I was like, if I haven't mentioned it here on the channel, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so excited to talk about the Smite Turtles. If I haven't talked about the Smite Turtles on my channel, which I know I haven't, I have shown images of the Smite Turtles almost every time I've talked about a Ninja Turtles game here on the channel. That's a fact. I always go out of my way to look for it. I might not always use it in a Turtles gaming related video, but I do use it in some, and quite a few. I deliberately remember doing that because I love the Smite designs for the TMNT. Smite. I actually don't really play Smite. I've never tried it. I've always had it on my radar because they do like a lot of cool crossovers with franchises that I care about. It's much like Fortnite in that way, which I wasn't even big in Fortnite until they added Spider-Man, and then I got into the game heavy, and then there were rumors that the Turtles were coming to Fortnite, and they never did. So I hope we get some Turtles Fortnite skins this year. Fortnite, you could have been in this video if you got to it and added the TMNT to it. I'm calling it right now. When Fortnite adds the Turtles to the game, that's going to be some of the best gaming turtle designs we've ever seen. They don't miss. Fortnite doesn't miss. But no, Smite has been pretty consistent when it comes to doing adaptations of the franchises they cross over with. They had a crossover with Stranger Things. The trailer was great. They had a crossover with Avatar: The Last Airbender. The characters looked super faithful. But what they did with TMNT was something really cool. They didn't pick one particular franchise or one particular take on TMNT, I should say, one particular iteration. They did for some of the alternate skins. They harkened back to the 87 series quite a bit. But what Smite did, they designed their own turtles. You know, they didn't do the Avatar thing where it's a one-to-one translation. But here's the thing. They did the thing about me talking about making the turtles quote-unquote more realistic, but not robbing them of their cartoony attributes. They didn't try to go out of their way away and add these prominent nostrils or anything. They still have like the rounded off beaks from the 87 series. All realism is mostly seen in their gear. And that's the perfect way to mesh the two ideas, in my opinion. That's all you had to do. Just pair realism in the gear with the cartoony nature of their head shapes and how their faces look and the beaks. It's perfect. I don't have any complaints with the Smite designs. These are in fact probably my favorite of all the ones I'm going to be talking about here today. I do want to step in and say here, I don't hate the designs in TMNT Out of the Shadows. I feel like that's coming off to be the case right now just because of what I said at the start of the video. I don't hate them. It's just that these designs go out of their way to be so realistic that sometimes it works for me, and then other parts in the game it just looks so weird to where I just don't think it's going to knock it out of the park all the time. Whereas if you kept some of those cartoony attributes, I feel like it could work all the time, you know? So this isn't to say why tie-in games get the Turtles right and the Turtles solo games always get them wrong, because obviously that's not the case. It's just that maybe these are some things that the tie-ins can teach the Turtles solo games moving forward so that they can get better at it. And it seems they've gotten better at it in recent years, but we'll talk about that later. Also, while I'm still touching on the subject of Out of the Shadows, SM, Out of the Shadows is not the best TMNT game. You try to save yourself and say it's the best 3D Ninja Turtles game, even that I'm not giving to you. Please, no. Everyone, call him out right now. Everyone in the comment section in the chat. Out of the Shadows is not all that. Okay. Good job, Smite. That's how you do some Ninja Turtles designs. That's how you update them. You try to make them more realistic. That's how you do it. Translating cartoon characters realistically is not to rob them of what makes them great, but it's properly executing the translation of those attributes into a new viewing experience. Did that sound intelligent enough? I don't know. I feel like I could have articulated that sentence a little bit better. Injustice 2. Oh my god. Oh my god. Injustice 2. NetherRealm Studios, round of applause to you. You did what Smite did. Possibly in an even more impossible situation, I would say. Not me saying possibly impossible. LOL. Bozo. Can we all agree that the Injustice 2 art style is a little bit more realistic than Smite's? Because if that's the case, they somehow made the cartoony looking turtles in even more of a realistic setting work, you know? So round of applause to NetherRealm and Injustice 2 for doing that and pulling that off. How do the turtles work in a universe where we have a realistic Superman and Batman and Flash and all that? Like all these superheroes that look this real. How do we bring the turtles over? It almost feels like a design we would see. Again, it sounds like I'm picking at this game. I'm not. I'm really not. It's just for comparison's sake and why I like these other iterations design-wise better, but bringing it back to Out of the Shadows, it seems like those designs would be what they would try to use to implement into the world of Injustice, but no. They went for an 87 look and didn't give them nostrils or anything like that, and somehow it still works. That's what I'm talking about. It's the new Sonic the Hedgehog design. It just works. I will say this though, comparing it to Smite, I think where Smite really tried to add a touch of realism to the 87 cartoon designs, Injustice 2 gives me sort of a live action 90s film vibe, which is good because the 90s movie is another good example of how to translate the cartoony look into a more realistic setting. Given the fact that it's flat out live action, they very much still look like those 80s turtles. So the Injustice turtles did the same job that Jim Henson's Creature Shop did back in 1990. Just, you know, obviously in a video game. It does go out of its way to kind of do the same thing that Smite did in the sense of its gear being more realistic, but I do like that, you know, in the trailer at least, they give them the colored elbow and knee pads and it doesn't look out of place at all. Like, it just looks dope. You guys know I'm kind of a sucker for the initials on the belt. Like, they have the space here for it on their designs, but the letters just aren't there. So I don't know, maybe that's just a nitpick for me. It just looks kind of empty. Like, it looks like it's meant for something, but I'm sure like half of you didn't even catch that. And now that I pointed it out to you, it's going to drive you up a wall and, and you're not going to be able to unsee it. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I am. Yeah. If I had to suffer through it, you're suffering with me. subscribe. I don't want to act like I'm just dragging and comparing every single tie-in appearance of the TMNT gaming-wise to Out of the Shadows exclusively, because this conversation isn't just tied to the fact of the turtles being translated in a more realistic world, because I would even say the argument still stands when it comes to some solo Turtles games that aren't necessarily trying to look 100% realistic. Like Mutants in Manhattan, for example, it's just taking the art style of the IDW books and making it 3D, even going as far as to have it being cel shaded to keep its roots of being a comic book established as much as possible as it's moving over to the new medium. But even then, I feel like these tie-in attempts, going as far as revamping their design and the new art style, do a better job at showing what the Turtles can be gaming-wise, even with the Turtles solo games having their best efforts of staying true to a comic book look. You know, like, maybe it's just me, maybe it works for other people, but I don't feel like this take on the IDW Turtles in this game always work. They look fine, they're not like atrocious or anything, but it's similar to Out of the Shadows for me, where sometimes it really works, and then there's another half the time where it just looks kind of awkward and I don't think it made its way over completely well, versus seeing them in something like Smite or Injustice 2, where there's never really a wonky frame where I look at them and I'm like, maybe this doesn't really fit for this game. Again, it could just be me. I'm not saying that this discussion here is the end-all be-all definitive way to think about Turtles in gaming. If you want to push me back on this, feel free to comment. It's fine. It's open for discussion. Gotta chill out. Chill out. What, you want to make a response video? You want to go, bro? I know none of you are coming at me like that. I wanted to flare this up with a bit of comedy, okay? Just bear with me. Knockout City. This one's like a little unfair because it's basically just the 87 Turtles in a 3D landscape, but still, it's good. And I think it's better than the Mutants in Manhattan and Out of the Shadows design, so sue me. I know this seems like a bizarre inclusion because we've been talking so much about the cartoony nature of the Turtles coming over into a sense of realism. That's not like the end-all be-all of this discussion. Again, the discussion is the tie-in designs generally being more solid than the standalone TMNT designs in their own last few attempts at 3D games. And I don't know, I think that stands to be the case. The one area that I think the Turtles standalone games are really improving in would have to be the 2D designs like Shredder's Revenge. So there's not really an argument to be made there. But like I said, keeping it to a 3D landscape, I think that this argument is true. And Knockout City proves that. Sometimes you just need to stick to what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I feel like that's something that especially Out of the Shadows could have pulled from. I really want to hear what you guys have to say, by the way. I'm not sure how across the board people felt about the Out of the Shadows redesigns. Heck, I don't even know if people remember that game at all. But if you do, how do you feel about it? Even if you don't, I'm showing you what the game looks like, so you can tell me how you feel about these designs. But yeah, Knockout City is doing what I have a gut feeling if Fortnite ever gets the chance to make turtle skins, Epic Games would totally also do. When Fortnite goes after a skin, they try their best to keep it classic and appeal to as many people as possible. And when it comes to TMNT, you can never really go wrong with the 87 designs, and Knockout City seems to have gotten that. All they did was pluck those designs and make them 3D. And not saying that like it's not a hard job to do that, but in terms of redesigning, there's not much reinvention here. So there's not a lot to talk about other than the fact that it works again. So yeah, that's really where I stand on it. That's already 3 examples that I feel of the Turtles being represented in a 3D space that isn't directly a tie-in game of any sorts to an existing TV show or movie or whatever, and them appearing in other people's games where they generally look better than the Turtles' own solo attempts at doing so. At least the last couple we've gotten. I can't sit here and just hash all these Turtles which I'm not doing at all, I'm just saying that to be funny. I can't sit here and drag all these TMNT designs when it comes to the boys' solo efforts without giving them at least one chance to shine in an area that I feel that they've been doing pretty good in the last few years, and that's 2D. So I do want to bring up a versus between the Turtles solo game and another tie-in that they appeared in on a 2D landscape, this being Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla did another fantastic job at representing our TMNT heroes in a half shell and just having them represent themselves in another person's game. This is probably the most different and out there of all the other examples that I've shown here today, given that it's a 2D fighting game, but I want to compare this to Shredder's Revenge. Revenge. Both are going out of their way to pay respects to the 87 Turtles, much like Knockout City did, but they both also have unique and new approaches to the style, kind of, you know what I mean? Knockout City looks like the 87 Turtles through and through, but Brawlhalla and Shredder's Revenge both look like the 87 Turtles, but two separate artists that did it. Obviously, two separate artists did draw them. I know, I get it. Two separate artists designed them, but you can tell, like, they're the 87 Turtles, but they have unique, distinct differences between the two. And this is just an example to show that when it comes to the TMNT solo outings, they can get it right sometimes. And while we haven't gotten 100% proof of them being capable of doing that just yet in a modern setting in a 3D space, it's good to know in the 2D landscape, the line drawn between the two is much more blurred, and it's hard to really pick a favorite, because if you said, hey, which revamped 87 design do you like better? The one that was used in Shredder's Revenge or the one that was used in Brawlhalla? I would really have to sit there. And this is something that I wanted to bring up for the fun of it, because I feel like this is an actual debate that we can have, because the other ones I feel are pretty clear cut, unless you want to fight and argue for the fact that you think that the Out of the Shadows designs are somehow better than the Smite ones. I don't know how you could, but this one here, we can battle. I'm going to put up a poll on my community tab, and we could just talk about it here in the chat in the comment section below. What do you guys prefer, the Turtles as they appear in Brawlhalla or Shredder's Revenge? I'm not going to tell you what I'm rooting for yet, mostly because I just can't choose. I think they're both great, but I will eventually have an answer. But before I reveal what it is, I want you guys to go ahead and duke it out, because I think that would be fun. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the tie-ins I wanted to cover here today. You can tell whenever TMNT is going to pop up in somebody else's game, there is love, care, attention to detail, all of the big ingredients you need to show love to an existing property when it pops up in your game. It normally appears when TMNT shows up there. They don't want to make anyone upset, but I also feel that it comes from a place of genuinely caring about the IP. It's been proven time and time again. I don't think this is just a one-off thing. Obviously, how could you think it's a one-off thing? I gave you 3-4 examples here. But anyway, I'm waiting. Fortnite, Epic Games, TMNT, let's do this. Let's make it happen. I want to add you to the list. I know you're going to do a good job. I believe in you. I really need to calm down. I really just need to wait it out till this happens. But no, I genuinely feel that the Turtles making their way to 3D can be done. We've seen it done when they tie into other people's games. We just need to see a really super solid design for the Turtles in their own solo outing in a 3D game. The 2003 show did a pretty good job at translating those designs into 3D, and so did the 2012 games. Same goes for 2007's video game. Say what you want about those games quality-wise, but when it comes to translating those designs in a 3D space, they did a pretty good job. Just for me personally and my own taste when it comes to the TMNT, where it kind of stumbles is when they go trying to reinvent the wheel. And that was most apparent in the Out of the Shadows game, unfortunately. But even when it comes to a sense of translating designs like the IDW Turtles making their way over into Mutants in Manhattan, that looked a bit wonky here and there. Even though I think the art style of that game is beautiful, the Turtles themselves can look a bit off sometimes. To me, I'm not saying that it doesn't work for everyone, but by comparison to how we've seen them represented as 3D characters in these tie-ins, I feel the tie-ins just do a bit of a better job here and there sometimes. I'm still rooting for my boys. This video wasn't to bash them. Please don't take it that way. It's a call to action. Could I do it? Could I do a better job? I'm sure that's what you're thinking. Like, if you didn't like how they looked in Out of the Shadows. Which isn't even the case. It's just that I think when they appear in other people's games, they just tend to look more consistently better. But to answer your question, no, I probably couldn't do a better job. Maybe I could. Maybe I should do a video of me taking a crack at it. No, I don't know. I don't know, man. I want to see the Turtles in a 3D game again, okay? And I want it to look good. Sue me. I'm a Turtles fan. I'm sure you want it too. Okay, this isn't going to turn into a rant video. Let's not do that. Just let me know. What do you think? Do you want another TMNT 3D game? Do you think that this is the most blasphemous topic for me to talk about? Do you think that my opinion is just complete dookie? You think it's boo-boo? If you think so, fight me on it, and we'll see who wins, I guess. Do you agree with me? If you do, I would very much appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button, to show that you agree with me, and share the video around with someone you think may be interested in it. And that subscribe button with the notification bell right next to it, yeah, that's like a few clicks. And a comment down below wouldn't hurt either. In fact, I would appreciate it quite a bit. SM, you're wrong about the game. Audience, you've been amazing. Thank you for hanging out with me and supporting me and these videos. I'm going to try to make even more and do what I can to really build up this community. I've been itching to do this kind of stuff for a while, and I'm going all in this year. You're going to see crazy amounts of content, and we're going to see this community flourish in a way that we didn't even know possible. I have a gut feeling about it. It's going to be good. And again, thank you just for supporting me and being some of the coolest people alive. You keep me going. The train's not stopping so long as you allow me to be around. And with that, I've got some more videos to make. I've got some more turtles to fanboy over. Eat well, drink water, be kind to one another, smile at someone today, give them a high five or a high three, whatever floats your boat. Make sure you're watching my new YouTube shorts that I've been posting. Also, give the new podcast a listen, Drawn Together with Ash and Geekly. It's here on the YouTube channel, but now we are also streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. And if you get the chance, make sure to show all the other Geekly channels some love, as well as sliding through our Discord server, where we're going to be popping off with some fun events and all that good jazz. Did I plug everything? I think I did. Let me get out of your hair. As always, I've been Geekly, you've been awesome, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Cowabunga, dudes.